Not all superheroes wears capes. Some wear wellies. Wellies.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the James Conway Experience. We are joined by a fantastic guest this evening, all the way from Kilkenny, Nicci StGeorge Smith, who's going to predominantly tell us in the YouTube part about Lyme disease. And then we'll move on to conspiracies of all descriptions after that. So it's a pleasure to meet you, Nicci. Thanks for coming to Sligo.
Thank you. Yeah, it was lovely, actually. The drive over was so beautiful.
It is nice.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, if anybody is thinking of proposing to somebody, bring them over here. What are we looking at? It's not just Ben Bulben. What's that big...
Queen Maeve's, and then you have the Ox Mountains.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
But Sligo's really underrated. Yeah. You know, everyone seems to go to Kerry. And I don't know why, because we have nice pubs and nice people.
Oh, no, it's so beautiful. Honestly, I feel, you know, I love this country so much. And I suppose, like yourself, having travelled a lot, you really appreciate somewhere when you come home. But this is very special up here. So
Sligo town is amazing. It's a real centre of leftism, which I never understand. It's hugely left.
I didn't realise that. I actually messaged Mark McSharry to see if he's around for a coffee because I hugely underestimated how far away you were from Sligo.
Anyway. He'd be down Strandhill direction, I'd say. So
and I don't know where that is exactly. So.
You're closer to Ballina here.
Yeah, I saw signs for that. I was surprised.
Mark's a good man. He spoke up well on a lot of different subjects.
Well, he was very good to us. So we were in before the Oireachtas Health Committee on Lyme, and he was really wonderful. He really went out to bat for us. There's a great lady locally called Fiona Quilter.
Okay.
And obviously there are huge numbers of people in Sligo with Lyme, and children especially. And all over the country, but just we're in Sligo, so you know. But anyway, Mark somehow, I think Fiona and himself, they're friends or whatever, and he was just fantastic, and he never dropped the ball for us at all. But unfortunately and fortunately, when COVID hit, that was kind of the end of the road to a degree when we were trying to gain ground with the government and trying to get the HSE on board. But in one sense, as I said, it was awful, but in another sense, it showed that you could have an illness, have treatment, and then continue to be sick, and they'd accept it, like with COVID. Whereas beforehand, when people were ill long term, and they went sort of like, you know, the doctors that you went to ran the remit of their knowledge and their understanding of something, and that was it. They didn't know anymore. So they're kind of like, well, we've done everything. And they would just say to patients, well, you know, you've had your treatment, you're still sick, so therefore you must be identifying as a sick person, so it's a mental health issue now, which was happening to people all the time. But we all knew. I mean, that didn't happen to me, but because I got Lyme in America, but for people in Ireland, that was their predominant sort of experience. So,
is there a danger with Lyme disease that some of the symptoms of it could be confused for long COVID with the way they're diagnosing things at the moment?
Like that's true. That's possible. Absolutely, everything is possible, I would say. But I think what happens to the body,
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
First, because a lot of people
what is it? What are we talking about?
What is Lyme disease? Yeah. We'll start there.
So basically, Lyme disease is a bacterial infection. Okay, and it's been it's been circling the globe for millennia. You know, if people remember some time ago, an iceman was dug up in the Italian and Austrian Alps, somewhere in that border, and they called him Otzi. Do you remember this guy?
Yes. Yeah.
So he was preserved in the permafrost. And when they did their tests on him, they discovered that Otzi, as old as he was, had Lyme disease. So he was suffering with Lyme arthritis. They could tell what his last meal was. He also had on his person a piece of mushroom that he was able to transport embers in to start fires, kind of thing. So he was quite progressive because that's what all the hippies are doing now,
Yeah.
But it just shows you that like it's been around for a long time. And but I know we have a lot of Eastern European people living in Ireland, and they would have encountered Lyme and known about it, but they would also have had a lot of herb savvy grandmothers, so herbal medicine practitioners and people who just knew the old remedies. And so if you got Lyme, you would go on a course of treatment, and it could take a long time, but you'd get better. Whereas the Lyme that we tend to see now is a little bit different. So a lot of people in Ireland have gotten Lyme and they have symptoms. And how can I put this delicately? So Lyme looks like a lot of different things. And there is a question around whether, so if maybe I'll just tell you what happened to me so that,
Yeah.
because then it will probably make a little bit more sense. So I was a student and I went to America on a J1 visa for the summer, like so many people do. And I was working on a summer camp upstate New York. And I was the archery instructor. So my archery range was on the edge of a forest. And so if it was a very hot day, some of the kids didn't come to class. So I might be there for 40 minutes on my own. So when it was quiet, the deer would come round because they knew it was quiet and they could come and graze and stuff. So they got used to me. And then as the summer went on, this one deer would come and she was clearly like heavily pregnant. So by the end of the summer, she came back with her fawn. And I was just thought this was amazing. And little did I know that the bugger had brought deer ticks with her and one of them had bitten me. So I will remember that deer fondly. So I was with the children down by the lake and one day one of the kids said to me, "Oh, miss, you've got a target on your back." And I thought it was some reference to being the archery instructor. So I just didn't pay any attention. And then all the kids started screaming, and pointing. So basically, when you get bitten by a deer tick, they're absolutely tiny. They're about the size of a poppy seed. They bite you and they kind of distribute a type of anesthetic like kind of pulse, I suppose, is the way to put it. And it's to stop the host from knowing it's bitten. And so then they drink your blood, and they also by passing that sort of anesthetic like substance, they actually give you a series of whatever infections it's carrying, you get it. So it could have anything. Like before, it would just have Lyme disease. So, but now you could get Babesia, Bartonella, anaplasmosis. You get a myriad of co-infections, and that's the problem. So before you would have these Lyme symptoms, you'd get treated and you get better, but now you have co-infections, so you have another course of treatment and you don't realize. So you have these lasting symptoms. And the immune system, like your gut is affected. And when your gut is affected, you're going to have all sorts of issues. Like inflammation is the big one. So all your joints are affected. Cognitively, you can be affected as well. So I got that and I immediately went to the children's doctor and I was given a course of antibiotics. They tested me, but before they even got the results, they're so on this in America and so aware of it, they just started treatment. So even if I had tested positive, they felt it was beneficial to just treat you straight away, because there's no point in wasting time. This is how serious they deem it to be. Whereas in Ireland, that's not really the case. Maybe it is now a little bit, I suppose, but at the time it wouldn't have been. So that was it. 3 days later, I got the results, but I'd already started my antibiotics. And nonchalantly, the doctor met me in passing and just went, "Oh yeah, that test was positive, so continue on." And I just thought, "Oh right, okay. So when I'm finished my antibiotics, I'll be fine. That's the end of it." And that was it. So I never thought about it again. I finished my antibiotics, and that was it. And then over time, I started to get these really strange symptoms. I'm talking over years. So I just ran the gamut of everything you could imagine. So I had just sort of like balance issues. I kept getting this thing called labyrinthitis, which is like akin to vertigo. I used to get that. Then I had really serious kidney issues. Like it was absurd. I was in pain a lot of the time. I'd get these strange kind of flu-like things for weeks on end. I would be working. I would have, a lot of responsibility. I'd be traveling a lot. And then suddenly I just couldn't function. And I really loved my job and I loved what I was doing. I was involved with aid work. I loved the children. You know what I mean? I was really, it was just like everything you'd want to do. Like you were contributing, you were also getting a lot. You know what I mean? You're traveling and being part of community and stuff. It was really beautiful. So I wasn't in any way sad or depressed or anything like that. But my body just kind of gave up. And I was just sick all the time. And then I ended up getting tumors and I had to have surgery. And I was young, you know what I mean? I was only in my 20s and it was horrible. And it was just, you had this thing and this thing. But I never at any point thought all of those things were related or connected.
To that one bite.
Oh, or to anything even. I didn't think they were even connected to each other. I just thought I was this really unlucky person. And I was quite healthy. I was outdoors and I ate well and all that. It didn't make any sense, I didn't have any major trauma or anything, like all of that sort of stuff. And then I just I would do my best. When I was well, I would do as much as I could for as long as I could and all of that. And then I would say like between 2007 and 2017, I didn't meet one person, including my family, when I wasn't at probably an 8 or a 9 out of 10 of pain. But I got so used to it. I started to compartmentalize. So I didn't take painkillers because they make you very sick. So I just got used to it. So I sort of lived parallel to it. So I kind of would do this kind of, it's just compartmentalizing, I suppose, really, just to cope with it. But I think of it now and it's absolutely absurd. So I presume there are loads of people out there like that. Anyway, so 2014, I think it was it? No, 2012. I'd had a car accident and I just didn't recover properly. Do you know what I mean? I just kind of was not great. And I'd had a break, like I broke my nose and a couple of other little things had happened. And it was just, the recovery was so much more, you needed to muster much more strength and I just didn't have it, stamina. And it was slow and slow and slow. And then 2014, I started to get back into it. I was back filming and I was in... I was going to Bosnia filming, and I remember sitting on the plane, and the whole side of my body was trembling. My I had this like a tick, like a not on the left side, but the right side, just so bizarre. And I could feel this sort of like a pull, like a tautness, and I could feel eyes on me, and I looked across the aisle, and this whole family were looking at me, and it was like a scene out of Airplane or something. I just looked across and I went, "Oh, I'm just a nervous flyer." I'm not a nervous flyer at all. I had this tick, this, pardon the pun, but so what was happening to me was I was starting to get these sort of almost like Alzheimer's-like symptoms, Parkinson's-like symptoms. And so I was forgetting myself. I would say something to my family and they'd say, "Yeah, we know, you've told us. That's the third time you've told us." And I thought they were winding me up, but I just couldn't remember. And I was getting this tremor. I would sit down and my legs would just be shaking. And I wouldn't notice. And I'd hear a noise and it might be the buttons or something on my boots or something. You know what I mean? And the pain that I was in was really quite incredible. So your joints, I was diagnosed with bursitis, midfoot arthritis, the pain in my spine. If any child ever has to go through that, I just think we have to just stop everything until we can fix it. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely incredible. And there are children going through that. The headaches, I didn't have them so much. I did toward the end, but it sounds like I'm leading up to, and then I died. But the spinal thing was really shocking. The pain, lifting anything or just standing straight, it was so painful. When I would go to the grocery store, I remember pretending a lot of time to drop things so that I could just stretch out my spine or move. And I wouldn't be crying, but there would actually be tears coming out of my eyes just because my body was in so much pain. And it was hard. Walking was very painful. My feet were sore, my legs, my knees were sore. It was so painful. And you just trying to get on, and I swear this gets better. But and then when the cognitive stuff started, that's when I started to take it serious. If I only had physical pain, I'd still be sick. But because I had cognitive issues, my memory going, and I was losing things a lot, and I couldn't keep. I couldn't keep, if you have a group of friends and maybe not everybody's on the level. So you're just trying to navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
I found that very difficult. Or, in work, there's always agendas with people in work and stuff like that. I found that really hard to navigate, and I couldn't understand.
Getting too emotionally attached with a lot of the stuff at the time, or?
No, I'll tell you what happened. I went from normal range. Something happened to me where I kind of went off the scale, empathetic and emotional, I would say, and all of that. And then I just literally went the other way. And it was like I had no emotion and no...
cold.
It was... So what happened, I started to actually Google, could an adult develop autism late in life? You know what I mean? Not from childhood.
Yeah.
And that was it. And so I just started asking people and asking doctors. And eventually I found the support group, TikTok Ireland. They were there before TikTok. But they're amazing. So anybody who has any symptoms, I would recommend you go talk to them. You'll find them online, TikTok Ireland. And through them, I just found out who were the experts in this area. So what happened, I wasn't even attributing these symptoms to Lyme, but somebody suggested to me, you're sick all the time, you've got this. And didn't you say years ago you had Lyme? And I went, yeah, but that was something else. That's not important. That's not related. And I went and got tested again, and I had the thing, and it was active like 20 years later. It was just incredible. 15 years later at that stage. It was crazy,
So all of these things could have been avoided if it was
all of these things could have been avoided.
Extensive treatment at the beginning.
And actually quite simple as well. Like I know now, if I knew then what I know now, I would have had a different life. But then at the same time, I wouldn't be who I am. So, you know what I mean? It's awful, but it's great at the same time. And it sounds like a contradiction, but
Is there anything people can take as a preventative measure?
Yeah. So again, all this stuff sounds cuckoo, but like if you listen to what's happened through COVID and preventative stuff and also treatment for long COVID and even vaccine injury, which is a real thing and nobody wants to talk about this, but it does affect people differently. So I studied as much as I could and researched as much as I could. And actually the Native Americans have a treatment. So, marshmallow root, there's a marshmallow, like we have it as a shrub here. Marshmallow root, if you take, if you cut the root and it's like, what would it be like? I don't know, like a, I'm trying to think, it's like maybe like cinnamon. It's got that kind of consistency. So if you eat about 3 inches of that twice in the year, you actually naturally inoculate yourself against Lyme. And so that's enough. And if you want to be sure, maybe do it 3 times so you bridge the gap, But if we did that, we wouldn't get it. That's it.
Well, I think that's the most important bit.
But isn't that incredible, though?
Yeah.
And like we know that. And so Chinese medicine, our own herbal medicine and Native American medicine, natural medicine, we have all of the remedies for these things. And also what I noticed, which was very interesting, one of the predominant symptoms, and I had it, was so what they just call it Lyme arthritis, but it's arthritis. So if you have arthritis, do you know you have Lyme arthritis? You just have arthritis. But that's one of the predominant symptoms. And when Lyme suddenly spikes in an area, nature kind of provides the antidote to it as well. And so Japanese knotweed, which we have in abundance here, and they're spraying it and it's ruining foundations and all the rest of it, Japanese knotweed is the most potent treatment for Lyme arthritis. And we've had a peak in Lyme and Lyme arthritis, and we have a peak in Japanese knotweed. I'm just saying, the answer comes with it.
That's incredible. When you're on about the Native American cures, I'm recently after watching a documentary. It was the Inuits.
Okay.
And this man was suffering terribly, terribly with cancer. And he went. He says, I'm dying. I'm going to go and visit some strange places. And, and he went up to a part of Alaska where the Inuits were still in it. And this shaman or whatever looked at him and went, yeah, you have such a thing. They put him on a diet of rancid meat for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And that was it. I'm not saying it works. It was just in the documentary that your man came back and he was like...
Rancid meat.
Yeah,
okay.
So meat that had gone off.
Okay. No, I understand, but I'm just wondering what is actually happening there. Is it something to do with...
Well, your man had
parasites?
stomach cancer.
Well, it looks like... And I know this is, we go through these periods of like buzzwords and things being the thing of the moment, but parasites, really, people are talking about that finally now. So if I had known what I know now, then I would have had a much shorter window of suffering. And the people around me, God love them. There's nothing worse than having somebody in your family whom you can't help.
Yes.
And I hate having done that to people. If your own child were ill, you want to do everything you can to make them better. And I hate that my family are in that position. So I think that kind of prompted me as well to try and find a solution as well. But
we have a friend who was at the cutting edge of the parasite cleanse model. Yeah, he's at
really.
It. How long has Gareth at it? Maybe 4 or 5 years now at this stage. Yeah.
Okay, so I would imagine that some of ours, one person in particular, I would imagine is a colleague of
more than
Gareth,
likely.
I'd
This
say.
fella's on X Spaces for years with some of America's leading physicians on about it. And
is he Irish?
English originally.
English, okay,
but, yeah.
all right.
But he lives here in Ireland now, and I think it's a crying shame with all the work that he's done online that he lives kind of a meagre existence, if you get me.
Okay.
He grows his own food, but he maintains that most disease is the root cause of a lot of it is parasites.
I think he's right.
Yeah.
So I'm not a doctor, disclaimer, don't listen to me, but I'm just saying I actually think from all the rabbit holes that we've gone down, That looks like that is the overriding kind of cross.
Are you aware of toxoplasmosis?
Yes, and I was actually
Yeah.
going to talk to you about that. So, we were filming. I'm trying to think of the year that I think it was 2014, and we filmed at the Irish Tattoo Convention that took place in Dublin. So people came from all over the world, amazing tattoo artists, and people came from all over to be tattooed by these people.
Yes.
So you had a really broad mix of people. So you had everything from, bikers and teenagers, trying to get their first secret tattoo. And then you had like older ladies who just, for whatever reason, they wanted to have a tattoo in private and it just be something, for them,
Yes.
to mark some occasion or something. And this young guy came, he was from California and he'd been living in Barcelona. He was running a hostel and he'd flown over to Dublin just for the weekend to go to this particular tattoo artist to have a tattoo. And we talked to him for a bit and he kept going on about his journey and this and that. And it sounded like something epic had happened, but he didn't say what it was. So eventually he did tell me, and he said that there's a thing they talk about prepubescent mania or schizophrenia that can occur, and it can just level itself out, right? This is a phenomenon. I don't know. I've always found it really fascinating. But he talked about how he just, all of a sudden, for no reason, he wasn't doing drugs, he hadn't done anything unusual, but he just started.
And now a word from our sponsors.
You're probably always wondering what these bottles are all about. I'll give you a wee heads up. Folks, what we're going to talk about now is beetroot. Now, I've based my bottles around beetroot, and the benefits of the beetroot is it boosts athletic performances, helps stroke prevention, and that's what it does, massively helps benefit the heart. It's a natural immune booster. Listen, I would love to put a health claim in the bottle and say natural immune booster. We're not allowed to, but the bottom line is, when by any 4 weeks, they're not a one bottle wonder bottle, you'll not do it overnight. So try it for 4 weeks, it'll cost you no more than about €48. What's not to like about that?
When the storm hits and the power goes out, you shouldn't be left stuck. The handcrafted Donnelly rocket stove gives you reliable cooking anywhere, anytime. Using just small bits of wood, it's efficient, eco-friendly, and built to last. Cook outdoors with confidence, whether it's for emergencies, camping, or everyday use. Order yours today at donnellystoves.com and use code CONWAYEXP for €10 off your order.
Unusual, but he just started to lose his mind, is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And by the age of 22, after going through, it was nutritional changes. His parents were quite like kind of hippies, kind of interesting that way, that they didn't just take the pharmaceutical model. And he got better.
Yeah.
And they didn't know why. But when this happened to me, and now I had cognitive issues regarding memory and speech and things like, it wasn't really mental health in that respect. And I'm quite sunny and happy. So they kept saying to me, but you're not depressed. And I wasn't depressed. And that was why they wouldn't really help me. If I'd said I was depressed, they probably would have offered me something, down that route. But I was happy and I felt I was really lucky in that respect. But that kid, I think he had toxoplasmosis.
Yeah.
So, and it's really common. And I think a lot of people, before they get tested for it, the doctors are intervening with antipsychotic and, that kind of thing, antidepressants even as well. And I think they're not getting a chance to treat something that is maybe natural, and they could just get rid of it,
Well, in my opinion, it's not a medical opinion, but it's my opinion on it. The word lunatic derives from ticks and lunar cycles and all of that, and I can't help but think that the body being predominantly water, that in certain lunar cycles, all of these things would be attracted closer perhaps to your brain rather than throughout the body. And then when you have that overload of them, a lot of people have spoken about this for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
The moon cycle and the strange behavior.
Parasites, yeah.
Like, do you do them now? Do you do the parasite cleansing since you were chatting to him?
I do the oregano oil.
Yeah.
That's
What's
the
the other
only
one?
thing I
Big
do
on
is the
wormwood
oregano
as
oil,
well,
really.
so-
And I can't say I wouldn't be as stringent as herself for stuff, you know.
Yeah,
Again,
I
I
try to
rely
do
on
the 2
herself.
days, just water if I
Yeah.
can, and ivermectin. Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah,
had-
I've never done the ivermectin either, actually.
You might be better off with the natural one, I would say. Just you have
Yeah,
the
that'd
clove
be
oil, black,
wormwood.
so black walnut,
Yeah.
wormwood, and also you need binders. That's really important because I think a lot of people were talking about parasite cleanses, but not having the binders, and that's so. We were when I went about this with the through the group, you know, because you're trying to get the best information from pharmaceuticals, you know, from your HSE doctors.
Mhm.
And the HSE I don't think they were trying to kill us. I think they just didn't know. You know what I mean?
Which the vaccine?
Well, no. Well, with the whole Lyme thing, like I
Yeah.
don't think that they were trying to not help us. They just don't know. But the big problem is that they don't mind that they don't know. You know,
Yes.
they don't feel bad about it. And that really upset me because it's one thing when it's me and I'm an adult and I've had some semblance of life and I'm quite happy. But when you're looking at a child or a teenager in a wheelchair and
Yeah.
there's no need for them to be in a wheelchair, you know, if the doctor would just look a little bit further, that used to break my heart. So for me, what was on offer was, and every patient is, doxycycline, right? Okay, so that's an antibiotic. But the big thing that happens to you when you have Lyme is that your mitochondria is affected. Your mitochondria is the engine for every cell in your body,
Mhm.
and that's your, you know, this is why people have chronic fatigue syndrome and all this kind of thing. Their mitochondria is affected. Doxycycline impairs mitochondria. So the very thing they're prescribing,
Makes it worse.
and they don't even realize that. And that's the kind of stuff, the joined up thinking. And if they knew, of course they wouldn't do that, but they don't know. And it's really difficult. And you do try to talk to them, and people like Mark McSharry that have really tried to bridge that gap. But they're like, we're getting our information from the CDC. We trust the CDC. And so therefore, whatever you're telling us, you know,
I think Mark was a good politician. I just think he found himself in the wrong party, to be honest about it. I wish he...
Yeah, he actually was great. Like really, he's a great human being. You know what I mean? He went out to bat for us in such a big way.
Well,
so.
I hope there's a new party and that he goes for it at some stage, because I thought he was quite effective in a lot of ways. I think it was, most of the time, it was the party preventing him being...
He was very open, and he did go against his colleagues to support us. Not like it wasn't like they were against us, but I just mean they weren't super helpful all the time. And he was very kind, you know.
Yeah.
So.
No, I've met him several times. I never, as I says, I don't like the party, but I've thought he was one of the better people in it. Right. So we're getting to the crux of what Lyme is, treatments, all of that.
Yeah, so
This time of year, it seems
Yeah.
to people really get hit with the symptoms of it this time of year.
Yeah, so
what's behind that?
So the cycle of the larvae, you know what I mean? The EU as well, EU policy. This is very so I guess sounds like I'm giving out. I kind of am. But before our way of doing things in Ireland was you would burn the gorse on the hills. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And so that would kill a lot of the larvae.
Yeah.
And that was great. You know what I mean? So we didn't have as much of a problem. We don't do that now because of EU directives. We don't burn the gorse anymore.
And
And-
graze it.
I know, but then what's happening is you just need to kill it, right? So if you send any animals in there, they then become the host for the ticks, and then they're the vector. So whatever interacts with that animal then is going to get whatever they have. So, you know, like we have sheep ticks here, so we don't even need deer ticks, you know.
Sounds like you're saying, Nikki, we need to graze it a lot more and burn it.
We definitely need to burn it. And also our winters, we did have, like if you got a full thick covering of frost, that was also good to kill the larvae.
Yeah.
But they're surviving. Like the numbers of ticks are really quite incredible. So places like Donegal, Sligo, you know, Killarney National Park, we've seen that too. We were seeing that for years, huge numbers of people getting infected. And you can do stuff to protect yourself, and that's great. But we could actually do more for the entire country, you know. So like personally, you can wear tea tree oil and spray tea tree oil and that kind of thing. If you want to half kill yourself, you can spray DEET all over yourself too, but I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, so like, you know, using things like what do you call a lint roller over your clothing when you're coming in, and a white one is really good because you can see them. So roll it over like the ends of your clothes if you're in high grass or going out to walk. That kind of thing. And your kids, I mean, kids are just like they're so vulnerable when they go out in these areas, like, because, you know, can lodge in your hair, your ears, you know, around the groin, your toes, you know what I mean? You just won't. I've seen children who've had a tick lodge between their lip and the top of their gum. Like, you're not going to see that, you know. So they just get in, you know, they want to feed, and that's it. You know, they're really filthy. Like, you know, Pliny the Elder, Pliny talked about the most disgusting and dirty thing that was on the planet, on the face of the planet, was the tick. That's a long time ago. So, you know, but they're filthy, and they have the worst. They carry the worst bacteria and the worst diseases and things, and untreated, it's really frightening. So one of the things as well was, so we would run these, the support group, TikTok, would run these huge conferences and bring doctors, experts in from all over the world, pharmaceutical, people who adhere to the pharmaceutical model, and then also people, you know, maybe talking about nutrition as well. So, and alternative therapies too. And it was ironic, I was going to say it's funny, but it was ironic that you'd have these spokespeople for ME Ireland, chronic fatigue Ireland, fibromyalgia, MS, ME, I said that, ME. But I remember early on speaking to the lady who was the spokesperson for MS Ireland. So she had MS and she was very ill, and she was trying to get help for the people and talking about the ills of MS and how, because it's really like, it's horrible illness to have. But she actually had Lyme disease. And so she got tested and treated. She doesn't have MS. You know, this is the kind of thing. So there must be, you know, swathes of people who don't have the thing they have been diagnosed with, you know.
I'm finding it very, very difficult lately with the advent of the internet and AI and all of that there's excuses for the rates of misdiagnosis that's going on.
We would agree with you, yeah.
It's insane to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, and Darren's wife's a magnificent woman with herbal remedies and all of that. It's a strange thing to me that a lady like that, or several other herbal remedies that I know, seem to know more about physiology and symptoms.
Do. Yeah.
And then when you go to a doctor, you go, well, yeah, hold on now. This is such a pan or that tablet for that. And you go, why? Well, because that's the 3 tablets I have for that, and that's the one you're getting. I'm finding it very difficult lately to go with conventional medicine at all, to be honest.
Unless I broke my arm or something like that, I don't think I would bother. But I wouldn't recommend. I'm not telling anybody else to do that, but I just have my own experience. There's so much you can do with diet and nutrition and herbal supplementation. And I don't mean like boxes of multivitamins. I'm not talking about that. But like there are things that we can do. Like we are deficient in things like zinc and copper and those kinds of things, you know, omega 3s and stuff. Like our food is deficient, you know, the soil that we're producing our food in is deficient of minerals, and we're not really talking about that. That's a big issue. Just before COVID hit, actually the end of 2019, the organic soil, what are they called, organization or something, but anyway, they had a conference here. And you know, the model village that Prince Charles built he had his guy come over, the main guy running it, to talk about soil health. And there were incredible people from Ireland, you know, producers, artisan producers and organic farmers talking about the crisis of like our soil and our food, you know, and the idea back then that we were producing 500 times more food than we needed, but we were still importing stuff from abroad seemed absurd.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and we were worried about like food shortages. And there's no kind of joined up thinking, and we have really good organic and fresh food. Like I don't understand a lot of it, you know.
Well, a lot of it is nonsense, to be honest.
That's the answer.
Yeah, well, to be honest about it, and I've seen it myself, this place is fully capable of producing more than enough food. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't grow a pizza or it doesn't grow a pasta carbonara. So people go, it's for selection that they go, do you know, they want various things.
No, I get
Nicky
that.
and Wolf would get on extremely well, so they would, because he's on the root of the soils. And chemical fertilizers causing an immense amount of damage to the soil.
I know. And I was actually just talking about this with somebody yesterday about glyphosate. And like it's illegal in a lot of countries, but then they just rename it.
Yes.
So you don't know when you go, like the same with ingredients, they rename them.
Yeah.
And then you don't know that it's actually the original, you know, the bad guy that you were trying to avoid. But there are amazing producers. Like, so one of the things with Lyme with regard to treatment, but your diet, but even for everything, your diet is your health. Like what you put in determines what's going to happen. Like, you know, what your output is. So I think that we've kind of had almost like a religious hold on people that's not true, you know, that you could eat anything and oh God, your gut doesn't mean anything, you know, it's not going to affect your gut, and just keep taking, you know, antacids, you know, this kind of thing. And there's a religious
well, you have, what is it,
holding.
the Hippocratic oath, or what's
oh,
that?
remember that?
Yeah, that's the one.
Remember
yeah.
that? What was that? Oh, yes.
Was he not the fellow who says everything is in your food?
Yeah, but also first, do no harm. Remember? So that would made us laugh, you know.
They got round that one, so they did.
Yeah.
No, my thing with it is, it's all in your food.
Everything is your
But
food.
I'm of the opinion that it's very difficult to be perfect, but if you eat something that's good quality, even if you're doing the wrong thing, it's better to take something of good quality. I know fellas years ago around here that used to suffer with heartburn or that, and all they do is when they be on the bog, they'd make a little ball of the peat like that.
Yes, interesting. Okay, I've heard of that, but I didn't know anyone who did that.
Yeah. It would be common enough in our family, because then all it does, it seems to, whatever pH the acid is at, it sorts it out.
And also the clay is pulling out impurities. So whatever poison or toxin is causing the discomfort.
Yeah.
And the pH of the soil. That's actually amazing. Yeah.
Well, there's one, like, after birth, you see, we're an animal at the end of the day, but ivy is very common if a cow, horse, sheep hasn't passed the afterbirth. You just feed them ivy.
Wow.
And whatever's in the ivy causes
okay.
it to... You see, there's all of these things that were common knowledge years ago that are just falling apart at the moment.
It's a holistic thing. I said that word, but it is a whole experience. Like if you live on the land and you appreciate the land and you utilize the land to grow your food, there's a whole different experience than having no connection to it whatsoever. Tending to your animals, you know, there's a whole different experience. You
know, do you ever see a documentary called Inventing the Indian by Rich Hall? He's a comedian.
I know, but I haven't seen it. No.
It's bloody good because we had so much to learn from them people, and instead of learning from them, all these new age kind of twerps started putting tattoos of dream catchers on themselves and going over there and pretending that they knew better than themselves. I think that's our significant problem, is just, why can't we go to these natives and just sit down and listen?
Well, we had it here.
Yes.
We had it here. I think like the whole idea of a sweat lodge as well. The oldest sweat lodge was found here was 3,400 years old. I think it's down in Wexford or Wicklow. So we were utilising the things that we're coming to now, like sound therapy, heat, light therapy, all of that. We're utilising them now. Like we were using sound to break down tumours, vibration, frequency, that kind of thing. It's fascinating. But these are all old ways. If you look at all of our old sites, they were sound chambers. Tangent. But I've been researching, a couple of ancient Irish stories, and I would have gone to Egypt and Malta to film and research in that. And it's the very thing that we live with here, that we grew up with, Newgrange and our cairns. Like we have a lot of court cairns around South Kilkenny and Dolmens and things.
How strong is the connection with Egypt?
To Ireland. See, that's a whole other podcast, because I literally, I have proof. You know what I mean? But that is a whole. It's absolutely 100%. Yeah. Yeah. If I say something, see, I know what's going to happen now with the comments if I start saying something, but I won't. I'll leave it to another time.
Yeah, no, it's there.
But it's really wild that actually all the ancient practices that we have, that which we call the Druids, and that which you would have had the ancient Egyptians, and I'm sorry going to say it now, but the ancient Hebrew mystics.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't say Israel, I said the ancient Hebrew mystics. There is a correlation and a similarity between some of the stories and practices and legends and things like that, the folklore. So I think they're more closely
If you check the
related.
blood, would it be similar blood? We would.
Yeah, I'd say
Fairly unique blood variety, would it be?
you're preaching to the choir. 100%.
No, I just think
you are. You actually are.
I think we've been on a similar enough journey there, yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about Lyme because I'm really concerned about people going back to work and back to farm after their holidays, and they're used to maybe managing cattle, or maybe they're involved in tillage, whatever, and they've had the harvest and the whole lot.
Yeah.
But they're not up to par, and I'm really worried about them. And I wanted to talk about symptoms and all that. But
we'll get
I
to
would
it.
love to talk about ancient Ireland as well. So,
you'll have to hold on for the Patreon for that, guys.
I know.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't tell you on YouTube because they'll just take it down. What should these men be looking out for?
Well, okay, so see, the problem is the first port of call is to go to the doctor. But the HSE model, like I said, I don't think they're trying to kill us. I just think they don't know any better. So I would recommend, if you have symptoms like fatigue that isn't going after a rest, that isn't going after change in diet, and if they've diagnosed you with something that they've given you an antibiotic for, and after the course of antibiotics you actually feel worse, or not better at least, I would go further afield. So I'd look for one of these support groups, and they will give you a list of places you can get proper testing done. Now, I have people that I would recommend and all the rest of it, but is it fair to say that on the podcast? I'm not directing people. I can just say what I did.
Yeah.
So I spoke to lots of different people, but the people I have got the best relationship with is a guy called Armin Schwartzbach. So Armin Labs, ARMIN, Armin Labs, you could get tested from them, and they'll send you a little packet and you can do the test at home and send it off and then get your results. But that will just tell you whether you have whatever you might have, depending. They'll give you a checklist and all of that. So Lyme and co-infections. But after that, even if you test positive, what do you do next? So there's a guy called Connor Saunders, and he's a doctor, but he's a nutritionist. And to me, I think he's the best practitioner we have. And whatever country he's in, he would be the best. We just happen to have him in Ireland. Now, he has spoken at a lot of our conferences. The conference I did myself, I did one on herbal medicine and nutrition and gut health just before COVID. And he spoke at it, and he was really the most important person to speak. So you're talking about prevention, and then you're talking about afterwards. So I've gone to many places. So Connor is the person I would recommend. So you can find him online. But there's a very well-known clinic in Switzerland called the Rau Clinic in Sonnenberg. And Dr. Rau is this, or AU. He's a doctor who's been around a long time. And, somewhat controversial, but that's just because he's going against the pharmaceutical model. Yeah. But he has tested people, where they are. There's a lot of forestry, right? So you have a lot of people out, lumberjacks and the whole lot, and farmers and what have you. So they're the ones who are coming across ticks and are being infected. And he tested all these people, and they all tested positive for Lyme, but they weren't symptomatic. So this is the thing, and this goes back to our issue with maybe for some people when they get vaccines. Now, I know that's a different topic, okay, but there is a part of it that is relevant, which is your own immunity, so the strength of your own immune system, which is dependent on your environment and your diet. So the strength of your gut, your microbiome, that determines whether or not you are symptomatic. And so life, unfortunately, in 2025 lends itself to a weak immune system because you have convenience food, and our life is not very.
That goes back to the cure for smallpox as well. Was just the girls who milked the cattle got milk pox.
Okay.
Then they took their immunity and developed the.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, because if you cowpox, you'd get the cowpox as a milkmaid. Mm-hmm. Then just some clever person realised, God, I've never seen a milkmaid with smallpox.
Amazing.
So those lumberjacks and all of that's there, if they wanted to, they could develop a proper vaccine
Well,
very easily.
See, the problem is, well, actually, what he says is that there's even no need, because if you just actually have a strong immune system, it doesn't. We all have these bugs. Like we all have. We have Epstein-Barr virus. You know, untreated Epstein-Barr virus with a very weak immune system. They know it's linked to a type of leukemia and a type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Like that's incredible.
But what has
Sorry,
happened-
not
what
non-Hodgkin's
has ever
lymphoma.
happened to
sorry.
exposure therapy? Like,
I don't know. And it was interesting during COVID. I can't remember the guy's first name, but his name was Navarro. He was from the World Health Organization. And he spoke many times about lockdown not being effective. Like he did actually say that. And then he was never heard of again.
ritually slaughtered or something.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. I know Sweden did adopt that though, and they seem to have done pretty well.
Well,
During COVID, I mean.
Well, yeah, but I remember having this conversation at the beginning. As like, viruses are intelligent.
Yeah,
and they want to spread.
Mm.
So surely a virus would not stay lethal because it'd be like, I need to spread. Every time I kill everyone that I infect within a day, they seem to lock down that area and I don't get to spread.
Exactly.
So maybe I'll go milder.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's actually true of COVID, or not COVID. Sorry, with Lyme. I mean, sorry. It won't really kill a person because it can't. It needs you to be alive in order to feed on you. You know, but like. It's such a crazy kind of thing. I really think we've had it forever. Like I've had stories. I've talked to farmers who have said they brought a good example. I was talking to a guy in Wicklow and he said he bought sheep from a Donegal farmer. I think it was in Athlone, I think. Is there a mart there or something? I'm not sure. Anyway, when he brought the sheep home and he sheared them, he said that the ticks were like marbles and they were just hitting the floor when they were shearing them because they were so full, like there's so many ticks, you know? And the reason that they are there is because of the deer. And again, we used to cull the deer population. And because we don't do that now, all our deer are riddled with TB and they're full of ticks. So they have this, I'm not sure, is it an EU model or our own? I'm not sure, but they will hire people to go out and cull the deer population. But they just want trophy kills. So they go after the stag, not the young females. Yeah. And actually that's what they need to do. So it's also horrible. Like if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, it's not nice. But at the same time, you're the population, the herds are not healthy, and that's not fair either, you know.
Well, to be honest about it, I think it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like in Ireland is filled with people at the moment who have the loveliest of intentions.
Oh, lovely intentions.
But they're just not going to.
I know.
They're not going to work towards a conducive society. That's all.
Well, it's a strange one. I mean, we talked about Mark McSharry, like we've had lovely representation, really beautiful people. I'm going back to the lovely fella thing again, or lovely people. But like one of the things I would say is that you either get people who they are human and they have feelings, or these sort of automaton-like people who they don't care at all. And so the Lyme community, we'll call them, were kind of active and really doing a lot since probably 2012, but I didn't really know about them. And I didn't know even that Lyme was my issue up until 2016 maybe. So they were busy doing a lot before I arrived. And one of the first things that was said to me was that the Taoiseach, who was a doctor at the time, had a meeting, you know, like Bertie Ahern brought all the people from protesting at the gate, brought them in so it looked nice, you know, cleared the place up. But he brought in the Lyme parents of Lyme patients. And, you know, there was a couple of children in wheelchairs. And it was like the meeting was seconds, you know, it was kind of like, okay, sure, we'll see how that goes, get back to us, you know, and, you know, voice them out the door. So, well, you can't say we didn't have a meeting, you know, but nobody got heard and nothing happened because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's not a big enough number maybe at the time or something. And then later on, when we had, you see, there's a lot of similarity with the symptoms of the girls who had the reaction to the, what do you call the cervical cancer vaccine? I forget what it was called, but anyway, and HPV vaccine, exactly. So a lot of them would come to the conferences because they wanted to talk to those particular doctors. So they were experts in infectious disease and vaccine injury, you know, so they wanted to have that information. And so at some point after one of the conferences, the mothers had talked to I'm not sure if it was Simon Harris. It was either Simon Harris or Leo Varadkar, but they were desperately trying to get help, and they were trying to push the urgency and immediacy of the problem. And they were called emotional terrorists. But like that, they're just parents who are trying to get help for their children. So people don't think that this is possible, but that will actually quieten you. Like that will stop you looking for help. You'd say, oh, I would get mad and I would fight harder. No, actually you wouldn't, because you know that the energy that you have, you're not going to waste it on a dead end. So it did work, and it was very injurious. You're trying to help your child and get the best information you can. And the obvious solution is to go to your government or, and they don't really.
I wonder, are people. There was a time where I would get behind a campaign and not a bother at all. Now I'm more in the place of become ludicrously well informed about it, make the phone call and put a notoriously dirty email together and say, that's my personal problem.
Yeah.
Solve it, or A, B, and C occurs. I don't even really get in touch with politicians anymore about this, because I know the person on the other end of that email is going to contact one of them and they're going to go, oh, he's a lunatic, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
The whole Lyme community, would they have nearly been better off to have concentrated wholesalely on the advertisement of it and says to people, don't even bother going to your politician, because they don't know, and furthermore, they don't care. And I don't mean that in a
no,
kind
I understand what you're saying. I would say that actually the people involved in running things will say the support groups, there's a few. Because they're so varied in their abilities and capabilities and professions, they actually covered all bases. So there was a really big push around awareness, and there was a really big push around government support. So they actually really did an amazing job, and to educate patients and parents of patients. So I think really, because the level of expertise and the types of people, see, everybody gets it. So you know what I mean? It's not just farmers and forestry workers and their families. It's everybody gets this. So you see this really broad demographic when you look out into the audience at these conferences, and it's heartbreaking. It's left and right. It's everybody. So, and it doesn't discriminate with age or class or money or anything. And we had one doctor who worked. He was in the Marshall Private, and he was the infectious disease specialist. And he wasn't because he didn't sit with the model. He was kind of sort of written off as a bit of a kook, and they didn't really pay any attention to him at all. And so because we needed a doctor, we were the ones sort of pushing him and going, well, he's our expert. And he was. But then when COVID happened and you needed a spokesperson, the HSE had him as the infectious disease specialist. And so he came in out of the cold, and suddenly he was everybody's go-to expert. And I'm not really sure that Lyme is really the priority anymore, So you kind of lose people as well. And maybe that's just how it goes. But
can I ask you this now as a parent, though?
Oh, I'm not a parent, a patient.
Well, sorry.
Okay, so you're a parent.
As a parent, I'll speak for myself.
You can ask me as a parent.
if I had a kid with a problem, and I've been through this route myself. Our little girl has autism. We went for the services, the whole lot. But the route that we went for it was wholesalely her. You could join the groups, no problem at all. There's advocacy groups, the whole lot. But me and my partner sat down and I told her, Roisin, there's a way this country works, and unfortunately is that the greasy wheel gets the oil. And you need to be not only a greasy wheel, but a wheel that bangs across your window, bangs across your door every day, letter, phone call, text. Is this where the support group falls apart? Because the support group, all of these people now are in the group. The group is representing them on a whole. Imagine, if you will, if let's say there's a group of 20 and every day letter. Instead of one phone call to whoever's heading up the support group and let's talk a little bit about this, that there was 20 phone calls. This is my little girl and my little boy, and they have this problem. Next phone call. Is that, I understand why it's done,
Yeah.
but for our little girl, it
Yeah.
worked for us to be the greasy wheel.
Yeah. Well, I would
Or
just
the
say,
squeaky wheel, I
I
mean,
think
to
the
the-
difference between the Lyme disease support groups, and certainly the main one, TikTok, they're not an organization like a registered charity.
Mhm.
They're a group of patients trying
Yes.
to help patients. So they don't get funding, and they're not set up to kind of be a conduit or an intermediary between the patient and public representation. Like they're not there to do that. So it's basically, for me, what I got to do was talk to other people and just kind of tick off, again, pardon the pun, similar symptoms. Like I thought I was like an alien. I was like, what the hell's happening to me? But then I met people who had exactly the same symptoms. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, so this is just how it goes. So that was really good from that point of view. And then it was a list of what are your options with regard to treatment, and then going which correlates best with me or what's possible. So like my first choice, or my first option, I thought was I was going to go to this clinic in, I think it was Croatia. Now there are lots, so I'm not naming anybody. So it could be
There's
any
one
one
in
of those.
Germany, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there's lots. There's lots, and I know the ones that are a waste of time as well. Like I can tell you, some of them are great, but some of them are a waste of time. And it's not their fault. It's just, it's sort of HSE stuff again. That kind of not well-meaning, but just not really. They're actually counterproductive. They're doing something that's actually getting in the way of you healing. Like if you did nothing, you might even be better off. To be honest with you, your body might kick back in. I'm not joking about that, but if you just support your own immune system, you might be better off. Anyway, so I was going to go to this clinic for treatment for about 6 weeks. It was going to cost thousands, right? Really thousands. Like they were talking like remortgaging your house. And I would do this treatment, and it was going to be really painful. And then I would go home, and they said, and then when I relapse, it will be less expensive, but it was still going to be like 20,000, 22,000. And then I might relapse again, but then it would be less because I would need less treatment. And I was like, well, how long do I keep doing this for? And they were like, well, we don't know, but it'll be less every time. So I just thought, get lost. Just not having
Keep
that.
going till it becomes free.
So what I did then was I just looked for people who had gotten better. And so this is the thing. This is where the support group is great, because you're looking like who's sick, who's well, who's better, how did you get better, who's relapsed, who hasn't. So I looked for people who had treatment and didn't relapse. Those are my group. That was like, who are you? Like, who treated you? So I just found out who treated them, and that's who I contacted.
Yeah.
So, and all of the people who were treated and didn't relapse had one thing in common. They didn't take pharmaceutical medicine. So it was all nutrition,
that
diet,
answer.
and herbal medicine. And I just literally went, you're the expert. I am here. You don't know me, but you have to help me. And so that's kind of what happened. And I ended up, like, talk about being fortunate because of the support group. And I'm kind of plucky if I'm doing something for somebody else. I was doing it for myself, I wouldn't get anywhere, but I'm just pushing for somebody else. We ended up kind of raising a bit of awareness. And one of the doctors said, you're not going to, like, because I was on so much pharmaceutical stuff like antibiotics over the years, nothing had happened. And he just said, the best thing to do, he said, is to just not try that. He said, your system is tired. He said, try something natural. He said, I'm going to give you 3 months of this particular protocol and see how you go. And he said, I do a little bit of work for this company in the States, and they have a protocol, and they give me, for special cases and for certain people, so I'm a bit special. He would give you they could give 3 months free of the product to somebody. So I took this, and then I was up early one morning, and then somebody advertised saying that they had done the treatment, they'd done the whole protocol, and then they bought it again thinking they needed to do it again, but they're actually fine. And they have so many months worth of it, like month 3, 4, 5, 6. But we had 3. Would anybody like it for free just to pay for packaging? So I actually got the whole thing for free after spending all of my money on pharmaceutical stuff over the years that didn't work. The thing that worked for me, I didn't have to pay for. It was amazing. And I had to supplement a little. Like I had to add in some other things as well.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was all natural dietary and sort of lifestyle changes and stuff. So.
Well, I'm glad that we've got a good introduction to Lyme. We're going to finish up. I want to finish up, though, with a question. I don't know whether
before you do that, can I just say for anybody, because I didn't quite answer it. So if you have symptoms, go to TikTok, TikTok, TALK, and look, you can see like some of their advice and that's on there. You'll see Armin Schwartzbach or Armin Labs if you want to get tested with them. And then I would look for somebody called Connor Saunders for treatment. If you have ME, chronic fatigue, Lyme symptoms, anything like that, you're just not yourself. I absolutely recommend him. He's going to hate me for saying this, but he'll get a lot of phone calls, I'm sure. But this is good. This is what he's there for. So.
Well, that's Lyme for everyone. I'm going to finish off on this and then we'll head to the Patreon. Nicci.
Yes.
Where would you direct people if they were suspicious that what we're encountering now is a much improved form of Lyme that perhaps might have been in a laboratory setting at some time?
Gee, I don't know. Chris Newby's book, Bitten, maybe.
There you are, Chris Newby's book, Bitten. We'll have a read of that and we'll get back about that part of life another day. So thank you, everyone. Fair play to you.